just means that Cuba's entering the global world, just like the United States has, just like many other countries in the world have. Come to Cuba and help it change. Just go with an open mind, an open heart, and being open to seeing a lot of difficulties, but a lot of joy as well.
So when I hear someone tell me that they want to go to Cuba before it changes, and I'm doing air quotes, I know that what they're talking about is before there's a quote-unquote McDonald's in Havana, and before all the buildings get renovated and all of this stuff, and before the street is full of Americans taking selfies with cars and all that. I understand that that's the change that they're referring to, but what I don't understand is how they're not able to see how necessary change is. It boggles my mind that someone could think that it's okay for them to expect that a place would stay the same just for their own benefit, for their 5 days of vacation.
If you're listening to this podcast and you're American and not Cuban at all, you've ever thought this before, we want to engage you in this conversation because I think a lot of it, Carmen, is due to ignorance. Americans do not know what Cuba is like because they don't see it with their own eyes. The difficult part is that there are enough people who did go to Cuba during that time that it opened up and had a great time. You might end up talking to a state-sponsored tour guide who will be like, everything is awesome. Have you ever seen that?
Everything you wanted, that's the way. No?
No.
Oh, sorry.
It's from the... Carmen, it's from the Lego movie.
I haven't seen the Lego movie.
Oh my god. Like, everything is awesome.
If you're going to go to Cuba, you need to understand that you are coming from a place of immense privilege compared to Cuba. Even just as a person who's free to just go somewhere, you already have a leg up. So when you're thinking about how this vacation is going to be vacation-y for you, understand at what price that comes for the community.
So we're begging the question, like, what is an ethical way to visit? If you're going, support the local non-state economy. Put money in the pockets of Cuban people, but also be mindful of the resources that you are taking up while you are there. Responsible Travel, which is this agency which goes into how to travel responsibly, suggested visiting Cuba outside of the peak of December to April. I imagine that might also allow there to be more resources at the time that you arrive.
And speaking of resources, try to bring some if you can. Bring medicine, toiletries, pencils, shoes, with the intent of giving them away to people, knowing that these are things that are hard to come by in Cuba.
Stay in people's homes, eat at paladares, which are places of business that are at people's homes.
And try to not just stay in Old Havana, Trinidad, Viñales. Try to see some lesser visited places and talk to people and get to know them. Try to not contribute to over-tourism. And I think you will also benefit a lot from seeing Cuba as Cuba is and not just the Cuba that is marketed to you.
Beyond that, if you make any relationships, sustain them, because this exchange of information, ideas, relationships, and bonds are really important for all of us. So we've mentioned that Carmen and I both have not been back. Carmen, I know you actually haven't been back since you left.
Yep. My parents have both been back. My brother and I have never been back. I haven't gotten a straight answer from them as to why, but it's always related to the amount of misery that is in Cuba. And, you know, why would you spend your vacation time to go to Cuba y pasar trabajo? Why would you go struggle? That's not why I haven't been back. Obviously, I became an adult and I've been an adult all of this time, so I could have taken matters into my own hands. But actually, it's kind of hard. It's hard to visit. It's not like I can just roll up to Cuba. As somebody who was born in Cuba, I have to go using a Cuban passport for a period of time. You could only get a Cuban passport processed by an embassy. Aside from that, there's a monetary restriction. For a while, you know, I was a college student. I couldn't afford this whole process. And of course, as we have mentioned, I also do feel a small element of fear of not knowing anything or anyone when I get there. And what if something happens? I am a dual citizen. It's complicated. Do I want to go back? Yes, absolutely. I would love to go back. I definitely will. It's just a matter of time.
I left around 3-4 years old, but I did return to Cuba. My parents and I visited when I was 7 and when I was 10. When I was 7, it was for a week. I remember having a marvelous time. I was an only child in the United States. I remember being back and being able to see family and run around. I didn't see any of the poverty because I'm a 7-year-old kid. And I saw how much freedom my parents gave me in Cuba versus in the US, where they basically didn't let me leave the house sometimes. Cuba, I could run around with my cousins, getting into trouble all day, and my parents wouldn't even bat an eye. So I really did enjoy that. I remember crying a lot when I left. And then I returned when I was 10 years old. We stayed for 3 weeks. And already at 10 years old, I noticed a lot. All in all, it was a much more difficult experience. My parents decided to never go back again. And after that, just like Carmen, I could have taken matters into my own hands. But honestly, for a very long time, I didn't think twice about returning. And I thought to myself, I'm just trying to move on and make a life for myself. But definitely after going to college, I felt more of a desire to also reconnect with family that I haven't seen in a very, very long time. So similarly, I do want to go, but it won't be a vacation. Not for Carmen, not for me. Hopefully Carmen and I can visit someday.
Yep. Well, you know what they say. Eso es un buey montado a caballo.
Oh my God. Es un problema grande. So our cubanismo of this episode is esto es un buey montado a caballo. That is an ox riding a horse.
Yeah.
So it's just a problem. Tremenda candela.
Imagine. I hope you're imagining this.
How do you get the ox off the horse? Why is the ox on the horse?
The horse
is struggling.
The horse is
struggling so hard. Yeah. And it's also how did it even get up there? So under what context do you use this cubanismo?
This is when you're describing something that's really hard, really difficult. It's very problematic.
So it's oh, you want to go to Cuba before it changes? Es un buey montado a caballo. Okay. That's just I'm not even going to get started with that. That's a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard. I'll just reflect on the fact that it's been hard to feel that we truly presented this subject as much as we could because there is so much information, so many complexities.
We aim to research and present that research to you. And then, of course, we will tell you what we think, but we are very well aware that our opinions are not the only ones that exist and our opinions are not the only ones that matter. It's just, if you came here, you asked for it, here was what we think. Thank you so much for listening. A big special thank you to everyone who lent their voices and experiences for this episode, and a super big Cuban shout out to our patrons: Jesse, Kellis, Yvette, Josh, Daniel, Jason, Karina, Sulami, Sarah, Kristen, Amaury, Kaylee, Catherine, Lauren, Salia. I feel like Busta Rhymes. Please sign up to our Patreon at the Corazón de Melón level. You will be graced with some beautiful prints of our episode artworks. We also have goodies for our $5 patrons as well. Please let us know what you think about this subject and take it easy, folks.
Take it easy, please.